Welcome back, everyone. We are learning Tractate Shabbos. We start with the fifth chapter. The fifth chapter is speaking about Bameh Behema, is with what an animal go out on Shabbos. What type of what type of gear the animal is allowed to go out with, whether it's with a camel as one type, female camel as another type. So what is considered a burden, what is not considered a burden. So continuing this discussion. But we ended off saying that halacha follows Chananyo, that permits even an excessive restraint permissible. Okay, Tana Devei Menashe. The Academy of Menashe taught the following b'isa. A goat whose owner carved out holes between its horns may go out with a halter on the Shabbos. Who inserted a halter into a goat's beard. What is the lokeva di? Since the goat cuts herself loose, her beard will hurt her. She will not come to cut herself loose. It should therefore be permitted to let the goat out in this manner, since there is a little risk that the halter will come off. Or perhaps sometimes the halter will become loose and fall off, and then we'll have the concern that he might pick it up and carry it. Will come to carry it for Amis in public domain. The Gemara ends it off with Teku. Then we're not sure if it'd be okay or not. And a cow may not go out with a strap between its horns. Rav and Shmuel disagree about it. One says whether the strap is for decoration or to control the cow, it is forbidden. One says for decoration it is forbidden, but for its control it's permitted. Amar Yosef, this time the Shmuel the Omar may determine that it was Shmuel who said decoration it is forbidden, but if it is to control the animal, it is permitted. The Amar Shmuel, and very specifically speaking about a cow, the law follows Chananya, who permits even an excessive restraint. May determine that it was Shmuel who said whether the strap is for decoration or to control, it is forbidden. They switched the cases before Rabbi. They asked Rabbi the following: if the restraint of one type of animal is put on the other type, Shmuel the son of Rabbi Yossi said before Rabbi, but this is what my father Rabbi Yossi said. So 4 animals may go out with a halter: asus, aperet, agomel, v'achamer, the horse, the mule, the camel, and the donkey. Does this statement not exclude a camel with a nose ring? Camel may go out with a nose ring because it is an excessive restraint.
May not.
Camel may not go out with a nose ring because it is an excessive restraint. Since Shmuel reported this proof, he presumably agrees with it. This demonstrates that Shmuel prohibits an excessive restraint, as opposed to Rabbi Chananya. Eliminate that version of Shmuel view in favor of this one. For what reason did you see fit to eliminate that version in favor of this one? Instead, eliminate this one in favor of that one. For we find that indeed it was Shmuel who said, if the strap is for decoration, it is forbidden, but if it is to control the cow, it is permitted. It will state Rabbi Menashe Omar Rav. Rabbi Menashe said in the name of Rav, Ben lenoi ben leshamer also. Whether the strap is for decoration or to control the cow, it is forbidden. Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Rabbi said in the name of Shmuel, "No yasul l'sham muto," for the curation is forbidden. To control the cow, it is permitted. If the owner of a parah aduma tied the leash to it, it is nevertheless valid. If you said it's a burden, then the animal should be forbidden, because the Torah says, Merciful One said in the Torah, upon which a yoke has never gone, so you're not allowed to have a yoke on the animal. And so obviously the halter is not considered a yoke, a leash in this case. Amar Abai b'melicha me'ir le'ir, where the owner is leading the parah aduma from city to city. Rav Omar Shani Parah Aduma Kohen. Parah aduma is different from all other cows because it is expensive. Ravina Omar b'meiredus. Ravina says the Baisa refers to a rebellious cow. A cow that met the requirement of parah aduma was so rare that it was priceless. Therefore, if a completely red calf was born to one's herd, one would guard it with extreme care. In this instance, a halter would not be considered an excessive restraint for a cow.
I thought a halter on a parah aduma made it possible.
So it depends. If you're saying a halter is a burden, then it makes it possible. But if it's not a burden, then it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the Gemara says. Depends what it is. How do you treat the... So it says over here that it's not considered excessive restraint because of the value of the cow.
And it was the thing if we were working it, not to
it's a leash. This is more of a leash.
That's different than the working
Yeah.
it. Okay.
In 28, he says, when used for a cow of a particularly rebellious nature, a halter would not be deemed an excessive restraint. Got a question whether there are halachic differences between these answers. See Ritva Mahak and Rabbi Akiva Eiger on Shabbos Shelmi. So Asus Bashir, the horse may go out with a collar. All animals that wear a collar may go out with a collar and may be pulled by a collar. Collar. What is meant by may go out and what is meant by may be pulled? May go out either with the leash of the collar wrapped around their necks or pulled by the leash. Shmuel said they may go out pulled by the leash, but they may not go out with the leash wrapped around their necks. The Tana taught in a Baisa they may go out with a leash wrapped around their necks to be pulled by the leash. Amar Rav Yosef said, I saw the calves of Rav Huna household go out with their halters wrapped around their necks on the Shabbos. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said in the name of Rabbi Chanina, the mules of Rabbi's household go out with their halters on Shabbos. They asked Kuchin on Imshochin, wrapped around their necks, or they were pulled by the halters, ? So the answer how they were pulled, Tashmak also of Shmuel Barudam of Chanina, Mulosh Besrabi, the mules of Rabbi's household, Yotzet B'Avseren Kuchin B'Shabbos, go out with their halters wrapped around their necks on the Shabbos. The rabbinic students said before Ravasi, and they added, the Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, this testimony of Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda is not needed, because it emerges from the testimony of Rav Dimi. The Isa Kadayach, the Rav Dimi Nimshochin Koma. If it would enter your mind that Rav Dimi meant only that Rabbi's mules could be pulled by their halters, he need not have said anything. Because that point emerges from the testimony of Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel. They switched the cases before Rabbi Now, if the restraint of one type of an animal is put on the other type of an animal, what is the law? Can be used on Shabbos or not? They can go out with it on Shabbos. This is what Rabbi Yossi said. So 4 animals go out with a halter on Shabbos, the horse, mule, camel, and donkey. Since it was not reported that Rabbi said anything to the contrary, apparently accepted this ruling. Hence, from here alone, it is evident that Rabbi would allow a mule out with a halter on the Shabbos if it could be pulled by the halter. Of Dimi's statement that mules went out with their halters on the Shabbos, right, that Rabbi's mules went out with their halters on the Shabbos would therefore be redundant, unless it means that Rabbi's mules went out even with their halters wrapped around their necks. Since this point is evident from Rav Dimi's statement, we do not need to derive it from Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda's statement. They both, the testimony of Rav Dimi and that of Shmuel Bar Yehuda, are needed. For if one were to argue that Rabbi's position can be derived from the statement of Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, that Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, said before, if he would have learned it from Rav Yehuda, I could say that Ishmael said it before Rabbi, and he did not accept it. Kamashman, the Rav Dimi testimony of Rav Dimi informs us that Rabbi did accept that a mule may go out with a halter. Rav Dimi, and if we only had the testimony of Rav Dimi, I could say that the testimony means that the mules could be pulled by their halters, but not that they went out with their halters wrapped around their necks. Kamashman, the Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, testimony of Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, that Rabbi's mules went out with their halters wrapped around their necks, is therefore needed to inform us this point. And one may sprinkle the ash water of the Parah Aduma upon the collars even while they are in their place on the animal's neck, and one may also immerse them while they are in their place on the animal's neck. The memra devnei kabulei tumaninu is this to say that animals' collars are capable of contracting tumah. Tenan tabas odom tameh, the ring of a person is capable of becoming tummy. But tabas beima v'chelim shalchot tabas, but the ring of animals or utensils or collars and all other types of rings, teoros are toil, meaning they're not capable of becoming tummy. Our Mishnah speaking about collars that were transferred from serving as an adornment for a person to serving as an adornment for an animal. Since a person pulls an animal with the collar, it is classified as the utensil of a person. An animal's staff or metal can contract tumah. Question mark. So it says matam. Why is it contracting tumah? Surely, since a person drives animals with these staffs, so they are classified as utensils of a person. Achanami, here too, the case of animal collars, the same reason can be applied. Since a person pulls animals with them, they are classified as utensils of a person. And one may immerse animal collars even while they are in their place on the animal's neck. But there is an interposition between the water. The Gemara answers, the Mishnah speaks of a case where he hammered it out, thus removing the interposition. So the Gemara suggests that this answer confirms with only one of the two explanations given above as to how the animal collar could contract tumah in the first place. Let us say that Rabbi Ami agrees with Rabbi Yosef, who said that an animal collar is regarded as a utensil of a person. If he agrees with Rabbi Yitzchok Nafcha, who said that the Mishnah refers to colors that were transferred from the adornment of a person to the adornment of an animal. The following difficulty would arise: when one hammers out such colors, he performs an act that makes a physical change in them. And hence the tumah should depart from them without immersion. That none, all utensils descend, become susceptible to contracting tumah through thought. They do not emerge from their tumah if they contract a tumah, except through a physical change. So the Mishnah teaches that if a tameh utensil undergoes a physical change that renders it unfit for its previous use, the utensil ceases to be tameh, and no immersion is required. Hence, the color discussed in our Mishnah became tameh when it was a human adornment. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha asserts, and was subsequently
hammered out.
It was subsequently hammered out, as Rabbi Ami assert, it would no longer require immersion. Our Mishnah, however, implies that immersion is necessary. So thus Rabbi Ami's explanation of the Mishnah is not compatible with that of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. So Gemara proposes a way to reconcile Rabbi Ami's answer with that of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. Rabbi Ami agrees with Rabbi Yitzchak, who said, a constructive action is not deemed an action that would rid an object of its tumah. The Tana of the Mishnah cited above spoke not on a constructive physical change, but of a destructive physical change. Only a destructive physical change can rid an object of its tumah. According to this view, since hammering out a color is a constructive action, the color remains tameh and requires immersion. The Gemara gives another solution to its original problem concerning an interpretation between the mikvah water and concerning an interposition between the mikvah water and the color. B'masniso Tani, a Tana taught in a Baisa, b'mechulolin, our Mishnah is dealing with colors that have wide holes. The Gemara above quoted a Mishnah about the tumah of rings. It now records a discussion that includes this Mishnah. Shal Talmid Echad Migol Rabbi Eliezer. A Baisa state, a certain student from the Upper Galilee asked Rabbi Eliezer, Shamati shecholkin ben atabas latabas. Destructive, yes, like breaking earthenware vessel makes it pure. But if you're just enhancing it, you making it constructive, you're not helping, you're not changing, you're not getting rid of the tumah. So, Shomati shecholkin ben tabas tabas, I heard that there is some legal distinction between one type of ring and another, but I do not know what that distinction is. Perhaps you heard about such a distinction only in regard to the laws of the Shabbos. For in regard to the laws of Tumah, do v'do chadohi, one type of ring is the same as another. But is it true that in regard to Tumah, one type of ring is the same as another? Why we have learned in the Mishnah, Tabas Sodom Tameo, a ring of a person is capable of becoming Tameh, but a ring of an animal or of utensils and all other types of rings are pure, not capable of becoming Tameh. The Gemara answers, when Rabbi Eliezer told the student that there is no distinction between rings, he too was referring only to the rings of a person. But even regarding the rings of a person, it is true that one type is the same as another with respect to Tumah. V'atanya, it was taught, why? it was taught in a brisa, Tabash iskino lachgo v'mosno v'lekasher ba ben sefer of tahira, a ring that one wrapped around, that one prepared to gird his loins or to tie his sleeves between his shoulders, is pure and not capable of becoming tameh. And they did not say that a ring of a person is capable of becoming tameh except in reference to the ring of a finger. So we see that even rings used by people are not all the same with respect to tumah. When Rabbi Lezer told the student that there is no distinction between rings, he too was referring only to the rings of a finger. The Gemara asks further, "Ude etzba do v'do achasi," but even regarding rings of a finger. But regarding the rings of a finger, it is true that one type is the same as another with respect to tumah. V'atanan, we have learned in a Mishnah, Tabash ha'mateches v'choisoma shel almoig tameh, a ring of metal whose signet is of almoig is susceptible to tumah. What is almoig? It says a type of cedar. It's wood.
Cedar.
Yeah, cedar, which looks exquisite. Some commentators identify it as a coral.
That's from the ocean.
Yeah. Almog is also from the ocean, meaning the almogim in Hebrew is the you have in the bottom of the ocean, the vegetation that grows in
like in a swamp, maybe.
Yeah, like different corals that grow.
Okay.
So it says Tabasha Mateches, a ring of metal whose signet is of an almog, of this cedar, is susceptible to tumah. He shall almog v'chosama shel mateches, coral reef. So a ring of almog whose signet is of metal is toher, not capable of becoming tameh. When Rabbi Lezer told the student that there is no distinction between rings, he was referring only to finger rings made entirely of metal. So the Brisa continues with a similar discussion regarding needles. The student asked Rabbi Lezer further, Shamati shecholkin b'machat lemachat. I heard that there is some legal distinction between one type of needle and another, but I do not know what the distinction is. Perhaps you heard about such a distinction only in regard to the laws of the Shabbos. For in regard to the laws of Tumah, one type of needle is the same as another. But is it true that in regard to Tumah, one type of needle is the same as another? A needle whose eye or point has been removed is pure, cannot become tameh. A complete needle, however, can become tameh. This shows that in regard to tumah as well, not all needles are the same. When Rabbi Lezer told the student that there is a distinction between needles, he was referring to a complete needle. But even regarding a complete needle, it is true that one type of needle is the same as another with respect to tumah. But we have learned in a Mishnah, the law of a needle that has become rusty is as follows. If it is so rusty that it obstructs the sewing, it is toher.
Because it's useless.
Ve'im lav tameh, but if it does not obstruct the sewing, it is tameh. Like you said, becomes a kli. Now it's susceptible to tumah. And the scholars of the Academy of Rabbi Menashe said, but this law applies only where its impression is discernible. At any rate, we see that even among complete needles, even among complete needles, there is a difference between the needle and another with respect to tumah. The Gemara answers, when Rabbi Lezer told the student that there is no distinction between needles, he was referring only to polished needle, which is not rusty. But even regarding a polished needle, it is true that one type of needle is the same as another with respect to tumah. Vatanya, it was taught in a bite, whether a needle is pierced, it has an eye, or it is not pierced, mutar letaltelo b'Shabbos. One is permitted to move it on the Shabbos. And we do not say that being pierced makes a difference except in regard to the laws of tumah. So we see that even complete polished needles are not all the same with respect to tumah. The Gemara answers, but Abaye has explained that Baisa in accordance with the opinion of Rava as referring to unfinished needles.
Now I had a question. Okay, so the rings and the needles, if they're made of metal, I understand where they and they're useful. I understand they can makabel tumah. But if they're made of the coral or the cedar or let's say even a bone, you can make a needle out of a bone. So would that not be that those would not makabel tumah? I don't know. I'm just before we went on, I wanted to ask that question.
So he said if the ring is made out of metal, but the signet is of cedar, it's susceptible to tumah. Now, if the ring signet is of metal, if the ring is made out of the cedar, but the signet is made out of the metal, is toher. Depends what is the main.
The main thing. So
the main material of the ring. If the ring is made out of metal and just the signet is made out of the cedar, then it's susceptible to tumah. But if the ring is made out of cedar primarily, the whole ring is cedar, the signet is metal, then it's not susceptible to tumah.
Okay.
That's what we learn.
All right.
The Mishnah says, the Mishnah continues enumerating cases in which a person may let his animal out into a public domain on the Shabbos. A donkey may go out with a saddle cloth when it is tied. Saddle cloth, but it's not the actual saddle, just the cloth that is underneath the saddle.
Right.
Rams may go out attached. Ewes may go out held, tied, or fastened. And goats may go out with their udders tied. Udders is their milk. The goat udders are sometimes tied tightly to stop lactation, either to allow the goats to conceive or to cause them to become fatter. Sometimes a pouch is tied on the udder to prevent the milk from dripping and being wasted. Tanakama permits a goat to go out with her udders tied in both of these cases.
All right, you're off.
So Rabbi Menashe forbids all of these cases except that of the ewes that go out fastened. Goats may go out with their udders tied for the sake of drying them up, but not for the sake of being milked. So we'll continue this discussion, God willing, tomorrow. Bruchim Tiyu. Should have a good week. All have a good week.